Good morning. Welcome to the Financial Pillars All About the Money podcast presented by Our Neutral Voices Media. Our show is all about helping our audience understand money, mindsets, and tap into the economic knowledge that builds financially secure individuals, families, and communities. So whether you're tuning into our show to learn about budgeting, building credit, investing, or starting your own business, we're here to break down the knowledge in a real and relatable way. Today, before we start with some introductions here, I'm going to kick it over to my man T for a little prayer.
All right. Dear Father, thank you so much for bringing us here this morning. Thank you so much for getting us here safely. I pray that you allow us to share our knowledge with our viewers today, that they are able to receive it wholly and spiritually, and that they are able to take it and use it in their everyday and personal lives. I thank you for allowing us to get here again safely again after finding that there's been an accident. I'm glad that my family and friends have been safe throughout this entire situation. I hope that you care for and take care of the person that was in that accident as well as we share our knowledge today as well. I pray that you also keep the people that are not for us out of our circles, Lord, in your name. I pray that you only keep the people that are there for us to benefit us and to help us and nourish us in your name. I pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. So, little introductions here. My name is Ryan Leopard, private banker with Star Financial Bank.
JJ Foster, loan mortgage originator, Lake City Bank.
I am Terrence, universal business banker at Greenway Bank.
Ben Weibel, branch manager at Flagstone Bank.
Thank you, gentlemen, for being here today. So our topics today, we want to kind of talk about the correlation between financial health, right, and our mental health, or financial stability and our mental health. But before we kind of get started on that, I had a question I've been thinking about here, and I want to know mainly from our retail guys, what do you think the most important thing is for a person to have with their bank? What do you think that is?
A strong personal relationship, I would say.
Ben?
I echo that back. A strong personal relationship with the bank, and I would also say understanding the resources. So understanding what your financial institution offers.
JJ, not to leave you out, would you?
Well, I mean, yeah, considering we've talked about this numerous times on this very show, having a relationship with your bank, definitely.
You guys didn't let me down at all. Relationship is exactly what I was looking for there. So somebody we all know asked me that question couple weeks ago. I said, you know what, I'm gonna throw that question out there for them. I don't think they're gonna let me down. Relationships exactly what they're gonna go for. So I think that'd be maybe a good topic for us to retouch on next week, or I'm sorry, 2 weeks when our next show. Not necessarily just the relationship that you have with your bank, but relationships in general and how those help you financially, whether it's good relationships, bad relationships. I correlate relationships with pretty much every job I've ever gotten has been because of some relationship. I think the last show I was asking you what you're doing afterwards. You were driving down to Indy for a closing. I said, what are you doing a closing down in Indy? You said a relationship, right?
There you go.
A relationship with somebody down there that referred you some business. So I think relationship's a huge thing for us to, talk about, maybe on the next show. So, JJ, I'm going to have you kick it off with what your thoughts were around the correlation between our financial health and our mental health.
Okay. Well, honestly, just let people know we're about to kick off our adult financial literacy workshops, financial literacy, a mental state of mind. And with that, our topic coming up, which is going to be next Saturday, 9/13, 6 to 8 at the Fort Wayne Urban League. Again, we'll have pretty much a similar format that we had last year, where you'll get some good knowledge regarding financial literacy and stuff on mental health. And we'll also feed you, have some giveaways, things of that nature. So it is always a good time to come out bring your family. And, if you don't have family, come on out, just learn some information, and it's going to help you in the long run. So with that in mind, our topic on 13th is going to be talking about financial literacy and the importance and the correlation of your mental well-being. A lot of people, we don't understand, but in order to take care of our mental health, if we have our finances in order, there is a strong correlation in that. If I'm struggling and I don't understand, how I'm going to pay this bill, or I'm outliving my means, it brings a lot of anxiety and messes with your confidence and things of that nature. So on the 13th, we're going to have mental health specialists on hand, and they give you some techniques to work on. And then obviously all our business professionals, our banking professionals, and what we're going to talk about today is just ways to balance your money, budgeting, things of that nature, things that can assist you and alleviate some of that stress that you deal with finances.
Mm-hmm. Yep. think, our financial well-being plays a huge part in our mental health. I would think that, you look at one of the number one causes for divorce, ending of relationships, is financial struggles, right?
Correct.
Causing unneeded stress within the household that just leads to more and more, and then those things kind of snowball and, kind of destroys everything. But when you look at the root of it all, where did it start? Typically with financial issues, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
You guys got anything to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Just from my personal experience and what I've been exposed to in the financial industry, when it comes to mental health and financial stability, there's a strong correlation. Essentially, those individuals that are well off, of course, do have pretty hefty savings, have hefty money in their checking account, or even have investments, own home. They have access to that equity. You don't ever see them stressing about anything. If anything, you see them living life almost carefree in a sense. Just talking to them, oh, well, I'm planning a trip to leave the country, or I'm planning this, or I'm about to go buy this, or I just bought this new car, or I'm doing this. You don't ever hear them say, I don't know if I have enough money for this, or I don't know if I'm going to be able to pay this. It's never a stress for them. When you get into the point where you're either paycheck to paycheck or you're barely breaking even at the end of the month, that's where that mental health strain comes in, essentially, from my point of view, because when you don't know if you're going to be able to pay your bills at the end of the month, or if you don't know if you're going to be able to maintain what you've already established, that's where that strain comes in. Because once you establish it, okay, you have the mindset that, okay, I know that I need to set X amount of dollars aside just to make sure that I can keep this going. Say you have a rainy day, say something happens with your car. Okay, now you have to start making sacrifices. Now you have to start to compromise with your finances. And also at the same time, I've seen people pretty much drive themselves crazy because they don't know what to do to be able to make ends meet. You can only make so many cuts to the point where you're starting to cut into your own needs. Sometimes people have to be late on certain bills just so that they can pay other bills. But at the end of the day, again, I know we said that we would talk about it later, but having that personal relationship with your bank is also going to be something that benefits you down the road, especially in terms of having a strong budget plan, or in terms of finding resources that can potentially assist you in that situation.
Gotcha. Ben, anything to add?
Yeah, so when I'm thinking about this, two words come in mind: organization and planning. And that comes in mind with just having an organized mind, being able to plan accordingly, writing down all the basic needs, understanding bills as they come due, right? It creates really a good foundation for us to be able to just be aware of how much money is coming in and how much is going out. And then awareness of oneself, especially when it comes to emotions. Emotions can be driven in so many things: stress around us, let's say a stressful job, a stressful family event, maybe trying to maintain status quo. Just the feeling of, okay, what do I need to do to fill the void? And a lot of people tend to go towards maybe shopping, or extra mimosas at brunch, right? Or just diving into things that were not in that planning or organized bills structure. And so I would say, as we're first creating a stronger foundation, is really understanding the bills, writing down everything, understanding deadlines, anticipating what's coming in, and just becoming aware with ourselves.
A budget.
A budget, yeah. And I can really relate it in this way. I remember one time when I was in college, I was on a fixed income, working part-time, and I was pretty much responsible for some things that my parents were not catering for. But I had friends who were going out every weekend, right? And so they were just maybe having brunch, or they're meeting every weekend, and, trying to really meet up with that, trying to step up into that. And I think a lot of people struggle with that, mainly because it creates a void that I'm not able to meet up with that expectation. Mm-hmm. And so I would say just becoming really stronger aware and knowing this is how much I have, allocating things for fun, creates that really good, healthy balance in a way that you can still pay your bills, still have fun, become aware of your emotions in a way that in mind, oh, I don't have this because I paid for my mortgage. I don't have extra money for this because I did. And then creating the spirit of gratitude and just thanking yourself for the things that you're able to accomplish creates that balance of, oh, I'm satisfied, I'm okay. I can say, hey, Ryan, you were able to take that trip. I'm happy for you. I'm okay. You were able to do that because I've created a good balance for myself. That makes me emotionally balanced, makes me more confident in things that I'm able to do. It makes me be able to celebrate myself and also be able to celebrate others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a lot of things that you just said that I really liked. One of which is the structuring, right? Budgeting, can take stress off of a financially struggling individual because they're understanding where the money goes. A lot of times they got money coming in. They're like, I know I'm making money, but I have no money in the bank. I can't pay this bill. Where's that money going? Well, sitting down, structuring, understanding where that money's going, where you may be able to cut back and just be confident that you're going to have that money there when it's needed.
That's true.
Also, that balance, that emotional balance there, because when Terrence was talking about, you don't see people with money a whole lot of times, if I may not be quoting you exactly right here, but, stressing like that. But I disagree because there are people, what Biggie say, more money, more problems for multiple reasons. But I know people like that personally that they're so wrapped up with saving and have that money for a rainy day that they don't have that balance to where they go treat themselves. Right. So they're constantly, all I do is spend money on the kids. All I do is spend money on this. All I do is spend money on that. And I'm like, you got money, go spend money on you, right? You got to be happy and you got to use some of that money. If you're spending all of your time working, making money, but it's going out towards bills, it's going out towards everybody else but yourself, right? You don't have that good balance, right?
Yeah, and to your point, that's what I was going to touch on. There are situations where people aren't fiscally sound, regardless how much money you have. They're spending more than what they should. They're sweating how they're going to pay this, how they're going to pay that. But then there are people, to your point, which you talked about, that literally, I don't make enough money to cover all my bills. So to those people, though, that actually, they're going to be in that angst, in that period of angst. But it's still, when we talk about mental health, it is still important because you have to have that self-care. Regardless of what I have going on over here, you still have to take care of yourself. And when we talk about that balance and understand our resources, what's out there for me to do with my family or for myself that doesn't cost a lot of money, that is free. Fort Wayne is a city that we have a lot of resources, full of parks, things that you can take advantage of for free. But you definitely have to understand that because, to your point, whether you're a millionaire or whether you're struggling, if your whole focus is on money and what I have to do, you're going to see a decline in your health. That's not good for anybody. So therefore, regardless of what you have going on, take that time to, whether it's for you, whether it's for your family, but that'll help, alleviate things on this side where you're in hot water or whatnot. But, again, the prioritizing, and I heard the word balance, these are all things that we are going to use. And I mean, as far as, words and topics that we use, I've said it 1,000 times. When I trying to come up with topics for the show, they're all interrelated.
Yeah.
All right. And of course, and I absolutely agree with that. And just to speak on to what I was saying earlier, in terms of not being able to pay your bills, sometimes when you're able to just meet your basic needs, that gives you peace of mind. Just knowing that your basic needs are met, knowing that you're still going to have a roof over your head, that you're still going to be able to have your utilities, your basic needs, that still provides some level of comfort. Even if you're not able to go out there and spend money to do things recreationally, just spend time leisurely and spend your money, you can go out and walk for a park. You can go listen to music. There are free events out there to get out. But again, most people will feel, I would say, a little bit at ease knowing that their basic needs have been met. When it comes to wants, of course, those essentially won't make you happy when it comes to basic needs. And to speak on those individuals that do have money, when I was talking about them like buying that new car or going on that trip, those are the people that were already financially sound. Those are the people that are taking care of themselves and all their needs and wants are still being met at the same time. Now, those people that have a lot of money and don't ever spend it on themselves, I can't really speak to that. I wouldn't say that I've encountered somebody that has had that situation just yet. But from my personal experience, knowing that people are able to meet their basic needs gives them the slightest bit of peace of mind, at least from what I've seen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's true. Yeah. So just really becoming aware of the stresses around us, right? And those stresses are just being around people and being able to celebrate others as they're earning more, and really being content with ourselves, and also really having a village. And so I think it's really important for everybody to have a village, whether that's a family or a group of friends that you really trust, that you can really go to and talk about. You can talk about anything, or even that relationship that you have with your bank. I always say there's no question that is not really, like, there's never an ignorant question when it comes to finances. If you go into a bank and say, hey, I'm looking to buy this car, these are my concerns. The monthly payment may affect me being able to afford paying my utilities. You can find a middle ground with your banker. Maybe that's your village. A village could be a group of friends that you talk to, that can really share and instill some wisdom in a way that helps you make a wise decision. And therapy too, because therapy is something that some cultures or certain influences don't dive into. It's really important to really dive into that, and just having more of a stronger mind. And as we're developing that stronger mind, I have a big list that I call an appreciation list. I'm very big on giving myself gratitude for things that I've been able to accomplish. I'm also big on reflecting back and looking at how I've evolved from years back to today, because I'm not the same person. I know when I was in college, I was pretty much I didn't have much. I was content, but I had influences around me that created a perception that I did not have enough. And the influences were, will you join us to brunch this weekend? I can't, because I'm thinking, well, we were at brunch last week. Why do we need to go to another brunch next weekend? I don't have enough for that. And that created a void. As I grew older, understanding that, oh my gosh, there's adulting, and adulting is not fun because there's bills, and bills are basics, and these are things that I need to pay. And so as I'm not able to dive into much and dive into things that maybe other people are doing, or other stresses around me, that I would consider financial stresses, I'm more appreciative of those things that I'm able to accomplish. And then that creates a path of things that I'm valuing. I'm valuing maybe mowing grasses on weekend. I'm valuing maybe taking a walk on the trail. I'm valuing just friends that I sit down and they share things with me. I'm valuing a podcast like this that I can sit down and learn from you guys. So it's really good to have that balance, a stronger mind, a planned, organized mind, and also understanding stresses and being appreciative of those things.
So you talked about, having a strong village, strong support system, your people around you. But what about when those people are the financial burden on you, right? I'm going to kick it over to you, JJ, because I know you know a lot of individuals that may have come from a certain environment, but they've made it, they got the money. Have you had any of those individuals had those conversations? What's that like when it comes to feeling like they have to support their village?
Yeah, that's funny that you say that, because one of the things when we look at professional athletes and entertainers, and people say, man, how do they blow that money? How do they go through? So if you get somebody that, so let's say he has $1 million contract, after taxes, they get about $750,000, they buy themselves a house, they buy themselves a car.
You missed the agent first.
Well, agents is that too, but we just keep it in family. You buy your house, buy a car, buy your mama a house, buy her car. Really, what do you have left? It goes quick, and as just said, people when they know you have money, and think especially money in those portions, people are trying to support them. But you definitely you have to understand again that financial balance. And when we talk about living within our means, just because I make $1 million doesn't mean I have to live $1 million lifestyle. I said all the time, especially let's say you live somewhere like Fort Wayne. I make $1 million. I live a $400,000 lifestyle. I'm living pretty good still, and I'm just affording myself that cushion. Where I have some things that if something was to come up, I can have emergency funds. And listening to Ben talk, one of my favorite stories around this subject, though, I remember Mark Ellington at one of our workshops, and he talked about his family had one of the best Christmases they ever had. He had maxed out a credit card, and everybody had all these gifts and everything, and everybody, it was the best Christmas they had. But he spent the next, 10 years digging his hole out of debt. And he said one of the greatest life lessons that he had ever had. And it always resonates with me. And that's something that I always share with people, because that's that balance that we have to understand. Okay, do we want to get, like he said, they had all the latest, greatest, looked at it, the stuff, that effect lasted maybe, a couple weeks or whatnot. Then everybody went back to normal. And now here he is looking, credit scores affected and everything, as he tried to, right the ship and get back, where he needed to be. So
It's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, depending on what your, like I said, surroundings are on there, I typically don't have that problem because I'm not lending anybody any money. One of the best lessons I ever heard or learned was like, I mean, if don't ever lend somebody money, because you're only going to end up disappointed and probably not get that money back. If somebody needs help, it's yours. I don't expect that in return or anything like that. More than willing to help. But if you have too high of expectations, most people are going to end up letting you down. If you try and take care of everybody, you're going to find yourself in the same situation they're at. Right.
Yeah.
I think it was a famous story about, they were talking about Jay-Z and how he had a family member come to him like, hey, I need like $2,500. I can do this. And he was like, no, I give you $2,500. That $2,500 is gone. $25 to him is nothing. But to him, it's like, if I just give it to you, like it's gone. You're going to waste it. You're not going to do what you said you were going to do with it. And then I'm going to be mad. We're going to lose, whatever the case may be. But having people around you that are just kind of bringing you down is only adding financial stress. And now you got other stressors involved with there. Now you got family disputes, right? So more money, more problems.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I can definitely understand the Jay-Z thing from two sides of it. I know with him being a billionaire, of course, $2,500 really isn't anything. You can blink and make that. But again, I feel like once you open that door to being able to help them out financially, that door essentially never shuts. So it's like, if I can convince you to give me the money the first time, what says I can't convince you to do it again down the road?
And essentially, I think that was the point. I missed that part, but that was his point, was you're just going to come back to me for more. $2,500 now, $10,000 next time. Yeah.
Right.
You want some advice?
What's stopping you?
I'll sit down and go take you to lunch and give you some advice on how you can make your own money. But me giving you $2,500 is a waste for you and me.
Yeah, I think that the athletes and entertainers that I think that handle those situations best, they put their family on an allowance. Like, here's your money. I'm gonna give you this allowance because, again, they can afford it. It's not gonna hurt them, put a strain on them. But here's your money. You do it at what you will. Now, what's that do? That empowers that person. Now, if you're going to go out and just blow your allowance, that's on you. Don't come back and ask for more. But if you're going to take that allowance and you working a job and you taking it, this is just gravy. This is extra. This, the cherry on top, and turn your allowance into something. Let that money work for you. Now you're onto something.
Yeah. Or they can throw out more famous people there. LeBron, they always give him, not a huge LeBron fan, but one thing I do like about him was they always say he didn't just give his friends money. He put them in positions to succeed themselves so they can make their own money. They don't have to live off him. He put them through school, gave them opportunities, that type of stuff, not just handing them money.
Correct.
Yeah. And so also when it comes to friends, I remember my teacher used to say, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. That really, it instilled with me at a really young age. I'm by no way not perfect, but I'm a big believer on it. It is always good to always, part of your village, to make sure your village is diverse. You're not just the only influential person in that village. You're also having better people with different life experiences who can instill things to you. And so it's pretty much as a symbiotic relationship where they're benefiting from you and they're benefiting from them. So a healthy village solves problems. A healthy village, they consult you when they have problems and they listen, and it's somebody that you can reach out and they can give you a really good sound advice. It is also something that is different. So what I'm saying by different would be someone different, totally different. Figure out a different friend from a different background, different profession, just something different that you can learn from. It really adds value, because sometimes when we all think alike, we may not even solve that problem. So for instance, if I come in and I say I'm valuing traveling a lot, and we are a group of globetrotters, and we travel a lot, and no one is talking about how do we travel economically, how do we save money while we travel, how do we earn points. We just find that we just traveled a lot and we haven't really solved an economic problem, right? So it's always good to have that balance and have people that you can learn from, and also learn from them too, and a healthy set where they can correct you and you can correct them, and there's respect with it.
Yeah. I guess understanding, what is a healthy support system and what is a financial burden.
Yeah.
What's adding to your stress, what's helping bring you down,
Yeah.
and doing what's best for you.
That's true.
Right. I want to go back to something else you were saying was, I think, we were talking about finding other things to do, kind of like stress relievers, right? You're in your financial situation. For me personally, it's physical activity, like going to the gym, getting my mind off of the financial struggles, issues, things like that. I know some people, I can't afford a gym membership, I'm financially strapped. You don't have to. You can go out to the park, you can run, you can play basketball, doing things like that to do some physical exertion to kind of get your mind cleared. All too often, I think, especially in impoverished communities, is that they end up going to negative stress relievers, alcohol, drugs, things like that, which are actually, this stuff costs money. It's going to put you in the hole, but that's where they find their solace rather than finding some sort of healthy physical activity, doing something like that to get their minds off that. Thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, the YMCA has, their scholarships and things that get you memberships if you can't afford it financially. But yeah, definitely, you have to have that release. I can't stress that enough, because otherwise it's just compounding the problem. It's just when you're talking about drinking and drugs or whatnot, again, that's that mental health piece. Again, it's just more of a strain. Get you further in debt. You mess around, you get a DUI. Now I just added myself another bill. Mess around, go to jail. Now I got to bond out, or I got to home detention, something like that. That's adding more stress, more anxiety to the situation. So again, you have to be responsible. Ben, I have a question for you. You talked about being with diverse people and different folks. What about people? Because I've seen this, that I get a couple doctors, I get some lawyers. These are people that I hang out with, and I'm listening to them. And, my job, I might not be on par with them economically, but, they start talking about their 401k and where they want to be, in 10 years. And, you look around the room like, whoa, the numbers that they're talking about are matching up to the numbers I'm talking about.
Right. But as they're sharing their experiences, there are things that we learn from them. What are they doing with their money? Where are they putting their money? How are they disciplined with it? What decisions do they make day by day? And then we look and seeing how we can apply that.
Yeah. I mean, I know, doing what I do as a private banker, I deal with a lot of wealthy individuals, doctors, attorneys, things like that. And I think a lot of people with financial struggles think, oh, they got all this money, there's no problems, no issues. And I can tell you firsthand, like, that's not the case. As much money comes in, that money goes right back out too. Right? There's not always wise financial decisions there. Now, whether they can feel comfortable in the fact that, hey, I'm a doctor, I'll always be able to bring in this kind of money. Whereas an athlete, there's kind of a short time span on that. If you don't manage it well, you got the rest of your life to live off that money. But it's not always the case that just because you have a lot of money, it's just everything's perfect, right? Rainbows. You mentioned living below your means. You're living you make a couple $1 million a year and you're living at a $2 million, lifestyle. I can't think of anything worse than you get accustomed to a certain lifestyle and all of a sudden that money's gone. And now you have to go back to where you started, right? To me, mentally, that would be something very, very difficult to deal with.
No question. You look at some of these estates, I mean, just the upkeep alone, when somebody has to pay, and you're right, now that money's not rolling in. And that's when we hear about some of these homes getting foreclosed on, and for some of these, again, athletes and entertainers. But these are literally, I ain't gonna say islands, but they're employees, they're employers, folks just on their properties and people that work for them. So there is an adjustment. And again, tying that back in, that mental health, what does that do to the psyche? So
Yeah, and discipline too, because in my experience, I've seen high earners really not being able to save money because there's that perception that I make so much, so there's a lot of a big outflow, big vacations, big this, and there could be somebody just making less money and they're really big savers, and that compound interest does so much. So it's so easy to think of. It's not even the more I think about it, and the more I've been in finance, I've realized like it's really not difficult to becoming financially independent. It all draws down to compound interest and how that has and the effect of it in the long run. So it could be 20,000 a year, 30,000 a year, however small it is how much are you saving for the long term? How much are you minimally living in a way that you're meeting your basic needs, you're not going above and beyond, and saving as much as you can? That compound interest is where the magic is.
Yeah. Having a well-balanced financial health is great for
Yeah.
mental well-being.
Right.
It's key for that.
Yeah.
Yep. So, all right, I think we're coming up on our time here. Anything to add, anybody, or JJ, you want to?
just a reminder. There we go. Just a reminder. 9/13, 6 to 8 o'clock. Fort Wayne Urban League. That's 6 to 8 o'clock p.m. Fort Wayne Urban League, financial literacy, mental state of mind. We will be talking about some of these same topics here. And like I said, and actually have some techniques and things that people can work with on the mental health side and on the financial literacy side. So come on out, join us. We will feed you, have some giveaways, and it'll be the first of our 3-part series.
All right, I hope to see you there. Until next time, we'll be back in 2 weeks. Ben, Terrence, JJ, I'm Ryan. We are Our Neutral Voices. Peace.